Assalamu alaikum class. I hope you all are fine and doing good. So I am here Ma'am Rehana Barkat, and today I welcome you all towards lecture 2. Our first our second question is Thames Hardy's novel The Mayor of Casterbridge addresses the theme of remorse, the desire for redemption, and the challenge of atoning for the past. Discuss in detail. Themes of the Mayor of Casterbridge. The themes of the Mayor of Casterbridge appears to be the arbitrary and almost always malign workings of the universe and blind chance upon the destinies of men. Such evil, unrelenting machinations bring pain and suffering upon the characters in the novel, and there is no escape except in a day to day acceptance of life. Next heading is Theme of Remorse. The foremost theme in The Mayor of Casterbridge is regret. Henchard's drunken decision to sell his wife and baby daughter haunts him throughout the rest of his life and poisons his relationship with Susan and Elizabeth Jane. Henchard eventually loses both his wealth and his social position and is compelled to work as a lowly employee for Farfrey, who now dominates the corn trade and also becomes the new mayor of Casterbridge. Henchard attempts to kill Farfrey by throwing him out of a hay loft but relents and breaks down in remorse. Our next heading is The Desire for Redemption. In the novel, the characters of Henchard and Elizabeth Jane both experience the pain of rejection in its different forms and discover reconciliation from that rejection. Henchard remarries with Susan for the sake of redemption. Guilt drives his desire for forgiveness for past wrongdoings. Our next heading is Pride. Pride motivates many of Henchard's actions and conflicts, both eternal and internal. For example, pride plays a role in his decision to surrender his gold watch at the bankruptcy proceedings. Likewise, pride seems to be the most likely motive in his decision to tie one arm behind his back in the fight with Farfrey. Late in the novel, when he returns to Wyden Priors, Henchard refers to his cursed pride. Like Henchard, Lucetta has a complex past and a deep anxiety about maintaining her pride and dignity. Her love letters to Henchard pose the most serious threat, and this accounts for the importance attached to them in the plot. When the letter's content becomes public knowledge and Lucetta is publicly mocked in the Skimity ride, her pride is dealt. Quite literally, a mortal blow. On the other side of the coin, three important characters seem immune to the pitfalls posed by pride. First is Elizabeth Jane, who copes with her displacement by Lucetta in Farfrey's affection with equanimity. Second is Farfrey, whose pragmatism and inherent good nature keep him from succumbing to fits of pride, even when he becomes mayor. Finally, Richard Newson is patient and sympathetic enough to step aside in Susan's life so she can resume her relationship with Henchard. Next theme is the past and forgiveness. Henchard wishes to earn Susan's forgiveness for his past action of selling her and their daughter. The past in this novel often represents suffering and violence, both physical and emotional. Henchard both desperately desires forgiveness and receives it, in many cases for his past wrongs. The Mayor of Casterbridge is a novel haunted by the past. Henchard's fateful decision to sell his wife and child at Wyden Priors continues to shape his life 18 years later. while the town itself rests upon its former incarnation. Every farmer who tills a field turns up the remains of long dead Roman soldiers. The ring, the ancient Roman amphitheater, and dominates Casterbridge and provides a forum for the secret meetings of its citizens, stands as a potent symbol of the inevitability of a past that cannot be escaped. The terrible events that once occurred here as entertainment for the citizens of Casterbridge have, in a certain sense, determined the town's present state. The brutality of public executions has given way to the miseries of thwarted lovers. Henchard's past proves no less indomitable. Indeed, he spends the entirety of the novel attempting to right the wrongs of long ago. He succeeds only in making more grievous mistakes, but he never fails to acknowledge that the past cannot be buried or denied. Only Lucetta is guilty of such folly. She dismisses her history with Henchard and the promises that she made to him in order to pursue Farway, a decision for which she pays with her reputation and eventually her life. Throughout the novel, the darkness of past events haunts individual characters as well as the landscape of the countryside around Casterbridge. The ancient Roman history of the region is referenced multiple times. The ring, where Henchard meets both Susan and Lucetta, is an ancient architectural remnant that once served as an amphitheater for violence and entertainment. In the time period of the novel, the ring is used only for furtive meetings, primarily of a romantic nature, but the bloody history of the Roman Empire presents a backdrop for the events of the novel. As Henchard and Susan reunite at the ring, their own past is as filled with pain and wrongdoing as the ancient place in which they stand. The past in the novel often represents suffering and violence, both physical and emotional. Henchard both desperately desires forgiveness and receives it. In many cases, for his past wrongs, Henchard wishes to earn Susan's forgiveness for his past action of selling her and their daughter. Guilt drives his desire for forgiveness for past wrongdoings, causing him to ask her to judge sorry, by his future works. After the couple is reunited, Farfrey forgives Henchard for their business separation and continues to be generous with him. Farfrey purchases Henchard's home and furniture, but he invites Henchard to live with him and he offers to give him some of his furniture without charge. Abel Whittle forgives Henchard in the final hours of his life, despite Henchard having treated him cruelly while he was Henchard's worker. Abel is the only one with Henchard when he dies. Henchard's emotional awareness of his past doings, his need for forgiveness, contribute to the isolation at the end of the novel. Henchard leaves Elizabeth Jane after lying to Newson, her biological father, her biological father and saying she had died. He wishes for Elizabeth Jane's forgiveness, but Elizabeth Jane's forgiveness comes too late. Our very next theme is self destruction. Michael Henchard makes decisions while drunk, angry, proud, or jealous. These choices ultimately harm Henchard himself and led to the loss of his family, his fortune, and his position in society. The novel opens with Michael Henchard's cruel act of selling his wife Susan and child Elizabeth Jane while he is drunk. Throughout the novel, protagonist Michael Henchard makes decisions while angry, proud, or jealous. Henchard's drinking early in the novel causes an emotional rift between himself and his wife and allows her to happily leave him for Richard Newson. After the loss of his wife and daughter, Henchard vows to not drink for 20 years. This vow allowed Henchard to be successful and prosperous, rising to prominence in Cansterbridge as the mayor and as the owner of a successful corn and wheat business. His subsequent return to alcoholism contributes to his poor plan to kill Donald Farfrae. Henchard's alcoholism is linked to his pride, as he uses drinking to compensate for feeling of self-hatred. His pride causes him to lose his partner. Henchard's drinking early in the novel causes an emotional rift. Henchard's alcoholism is linked to his pride as he uses drinking to compensate for feelings of self-hatred. His pride causes him to lose his partnership with Farfrae and to eventually go bankrupt because he cannot accept that the younger man might be more popular and more successful than himself. Henchard's pride produces his jealousy of Farfrae. After Farfrae's holiday celebrations are more popular than Henchard's, Henchard in a jealous temper says that the young man's time as his business manager is drawing to a close. As Farfrae starts his own separate business and continues to excel with Casterbridge society, Henchard loses himself, his family and fortune as his jealousy harms himself and his reputation. For example, Henchard's attempt to ruin Farfrae's business backfires and causes his own business to go into debt. Despite Farfrae's kindness, Henchard establishes himself as Farfrae's rival in business and in romance. Henchard's interest in Lucetta increases primarily because of a transfer of her affections to Farfrae. Henchard's jealousy tries to force her to agree to marry him. When Lucetta marries Farfrae secretly, Henchard is angry and obsessed with her betrayal. Henchard is driven crazy by the thought of Farfrae taking a position as the new mayor, and their positions are completely reversed by the end of the novel. Farfrae is a successful and prominent figure in Casterbridge, and he lives in the grand house that was once Henchard's. Henchard dies virtually alone and friendless. Our next one is loyalty to duty and commitments. Loyalty is in Elizabeth Jane and Susan. Henchard does not fulfill his duty to his wife, daughter, or Lucetta. Henchard also is anxious to atone for his past, in which he did not maintain his commitment to his wife. Loyalty is a defining aspect of the characters Elizabeth Jane and Susan in the novel. Both women fulfill the expectations of their duties as women, wives, and daughters, while also upholding their past commitments. Duty in the novel is an abstract idea of their what is expected of an individual because of her or his position in society. Commitments are any specific agreements made in the past above and beyond one's duties. After Susan remarries Henchard, Elizabeth Jane is remarkably motivated by a sense of duty to her father and her new position to better herself through education and proper speech. I am not well informed, it shall be by no fault of my own, she would say to herself while studying diligently. Only Susan's belief that her sale to Newson was binding keeps her committed to him rather than to Henchard. When she learns the truth, she feels it is her duty to return to her true husband. Other characters in the novel have more complex relationships to loyalty. Henchard's awareness of his past wrongs is connected to the guilt he feels when he does not fulfill his duty to his wife, daughter, or Lucetta. Henchard wishes to remarry Susan for his daughter's sake, but Henchard also is anxious to atone for his past in which he did not maintain his commitment to his wife. Henchard feels he must marry Lucetta once his wife dies because of their past relationship. Lucetta must decide between her past commitment to Henchard and her love for Farfrae when she moves to Casterbridge. Elizabeth Jane believes Lucetta must marry Henchard because of their past and their agreement. Lucetta struggles against this commitment because her love for Farfrae, ultimately choosing love over commitment, which hurts both Henchard and Elizabeth Jane, who are more driven for loyalty to others. Our next one is our next theme is marriage. Henchard complains about being unhappy in his marriage since divorce wasn't an option in those days. He actually auctions his wife off the highest bidder. In the Mayor of Casterbridge, marriage seems to be less of the traditional legal contract than an agreement between two people. Susan's relationship to Newson and Lucetta's understanding with Henchard are just as morally binding as a traditional legal marriage. Next theme is familial and romantic love. If there are a lot of marriages without love in the Mayor of Casterbridge, there is also a lot of love without marriage. Sorry, Lucetta falls in love with Henchard. Then their marriage is postponed and they cancelled to altogether. Elizabeth Jane crushes on Farfrae from afar for most of the novel. Henchard's loathing for his stepdaughter gradually morphs into a kind of hopeless, protective, and jealous love. The plot of the novel is frequently driven by complex truths about characters' family relationships, which are hidden and revealed. Early in the novel, Michael Henchard wishes to remarry Susan for his daughter's sake. But once Henchard learns that Elizabeth Jane is not his daughter by blood, he no longer cares for her. For Henchard, ties of blood are strongest. Richard Newson also cares deeply for his own offspring as he seeks out Elizabeth Jane and goes to great lengths to reconnect with her by returning to Casterbridge multiple times. Susan lies to Elizabeth Jane about her connection to Henchard. Then Henchard unknowingly misrepresents himself as her father. The final reveal of her true parentage secures her happiness and reconnection with Newson. Confusion surrounding the identity of Elizabeth Jane's biological father continues throughout the novel, emphasizing the importance of family connections to each of the characters. Romantic love, in addition to familial love, directs characters' choices in the novel. Love causes characters to feel and behave and in irrational ways that defy their circumstances. Love is presented in contrast to one's loyalty to duty and commitment. Love tears Donald Farfrae away from Elizabeth Jane as he falls for Lucetta. Despite Farfrae's encouragement of Elizabeth Jane, he cannot resist Lucetta. He goes against his previous actions and hurts Elizabeth Jane because his feelings for Lucetta are too strong to resist. Lucetta loves Henchard despite his commitment to his wife until she falls for Farfrae. Henchard and Elizabeth Jane both believe that Lucetta is bound to Henchard because of her past commitment to him. But Lucetta prioritizes her love for Farfrae over her duty, saying, I won't be a slave to the past. I will love where I choose. Elizabeth Jane is hurt by Lucetta's secret marriage because she loves Farfrae throughout the novel, despite his relationship with Lucetta. Next is friendship. It's hard to say what first attracts Henchard to Farfrae, but whatever it is, he trusts himself immediately, not just with his business, but with his personal life and secrets. The two men are practically inseparable until Henchard's jealousy drives them apart. Elizabeth Jane and Lucetta are likewise inseparable despite their contrasting personalities, but Elizabeth Jane, unlike Henchard, is too good for a person to allow her jealousy of Lucetta and Farfrae to end their friendship. Next is fate and free will. Fate or it's clear that almost all of Henchard's misfortunes are caused by his own mistakes. It's hard to blame fate or destiny for the bad things that happen to him. Henchard is born with a bad temper and very little self control. If he becomes jealous or angry, he will act on his jealous rage. If his mistakes are a result of his personality flaws, fate or destiny is a leading theme in most of Thomas Hardy's novels. Hardy typically views fate as arbitrary but inalterable and often inexplicable. In chapter 41 of The Mayor of Casterbridge, for example, Henchard exclaims about the Skimity ride and the effigy he saw in the water. That performance of their killers, Lucetta, but kept me alive. Hardy's words are true to an extent, but the plot of Mayor of Casterbridge shows that a man's own will and character also affects his fate. The hand of fate pulls Henchard out of the pit he has been lying in since he abandoned his wife and daughter. It rewards him and makes him the mayor and a wealthy person, likewise what Hardy terms the persistence of the unforeseen. At the end of the novel, intervenes to frustrate Henchard in his attempt to ruin Farfrae. Henchard makes a mistaken bet on the weather, having superstitiously consulted the weather prophet Mr. Fall. As a consequence, he suffers huge losses. Farfrae, on the other hand, buys again when prices are low and makes large profits. On a less dramatic scale, unpredictable weather at Casterbridge results in the failure of Henchard's plan for a festive public entertainment. Hardy dramatizes the role of fate or destiny in numerous ways in the novel. Long absent characters such as Joshua Job and Richard Newson unexpectedly reappear to play a major part in the action. Situations and conflicts undergo unanticipated reversals. For example, the friendship between Henchard and Farfrae. For Hardy, in the end, the role of destiny in human affairs is inscrutable. Our next theme is deception. Many characters in The Mayor of Casterbridge engaged in deception. Lies and half truths come to dominate life in Hardy's fictional world. The results of such behavior are nearly always damaging. The very first comes Susan. For example, Susan deceives Henchard into thinking he is Elizabeth Jane's natural father. She also deceives Elizabeth Jane during their initial search for Henchard, telling the young woman they are trying to locate a relative or connection by marriage. Toward the end of the novel, Henchard lies to Newson, telling him Elizabeth Jane is dead. Next comes the Lucetta. Lucetta also practices deception when she pits Farfrae and Henchard against one another. She conceals her past links with Henchard from Farfrae, and she conceals from Henchard her secret marriage at Port Brede. Henchard Henchard is hardly forthright about the most shameful action in his past, the auctioning of his wife to the highest bidder. When the Formerty woman discloses Henchard's secret, the former mayor is disgraced. Finally, the townsfolk who organize and participate in this committee rite are masters of deception, frustrating the rusty jointed executors of the law in Hardy's fictional world. Deception is so rife it appears to be an integral part of human nature. Our next theme and the very last theme is the value of a good name. The value of a good name is abundantly clear within the first few chapters of the novel, as Henchard wakes to find that the sale of his wife was not a dream or a drunken hallucination. His first concern is to remember whether he divulged his name to anyone during the course of the previous evening. All the while, Susan warns Elizabeth Jane of the need for discretion at the Three Mariners Inn. Their respectability, and more important, that of the mayor, could be jeopardized if anyone discovered it that Henchard's family performed chores as payment for lodging. The importance of a solid reputation and character is rather obvious given Rancher's situation, for Henchard has little else besides his name. He arrives in Casterbridge with nothing more than the implements of the hairdresser's trade, and though we never learn the circumstances of his ascent to civic leader, such a climb presumably depends upon the worth of one's name. Throughout the course of the novel, Henchard attempts to earn or to believe that he has earned his position. He is, however, plagued by a conviction of his own worthlessness, and he places himself in situations that can only result in failure. For instance, he indulges in petty jealousy of Farfrae, which leads to a drawn out competition in which Henchard loses his position as mayor, his business, and the woman he loves. More crucial, Henchard's action result in the loss of his name and his reputation as a worthy and honorable citizen. Once he has lost these essentials, he follows the same course towards death as Lucetta, whose demise is seemingly precipitated by the irretrievable loss of respectability brought about by the skimity writer. That's all for today. That's all for today. These were the themes of the novel Mayors of Casterbridge. Hope you guys understood each and everything. Best of luck and thank you. Allah Hafiz.